Hello, I am Priyadarshini Karve. I am the director of Samuchit Envirotech, a social enterprise based in Pune and working with the motto Enabling Sustainability. I am also currently the national convener of Indian Network on Ethics and Climate Change, or INEC. Our motto is People's Voices in Policy Choices. This is the second episode of the series Let's Try Some Thought Experiments. Link to the first episode is in the description, and links to the future episodes will be added as and when new videos are made. Let's talk about our healthcare system, which is on everyone's mind nowadays. We generally think only of doctors and hospitals when it comes to healthcare. However, we need to look at this with a much wider vision. A majority of the threats to our health come from viruses and bacteria, and a lot of these can be overcome through our inherent immunity. There are, of course, a few very dangerous microbes capable of overcoming our immunity and either cause long-lasting damage or kill us. Thanks to modern science, we have vaccines against some of these diseases. So, if we have a robust inherent immunity and we are all properly vaccinated, we would be capable of fighting a lot of viral and bacterial diseases on our own. Under such ideal circumstances, our healthcare system can focus primarily on the dangerous infections against which our immunity and vaccines are inadequate. So obviously, this underlines the importance of the vaccination programs. India has a fairly good record of this in spite of the challenge posed by our population size and diversity. We must keep this up in future. Our immunity is linked with our physical fitness, which is to a large extent dependent on our diet and physical activity. But at a fundamental level, our fitness is predetermined by the nutrition and care received by our mothers in pregnancy and by us during our growing years. This is the reason why proper care and nurture for pregnant women and young children is so critically important. As a society, are we really able to ensure this across the cross-section of our population? This is not just an economic challenge, but is also a cultural challenge to an extent. The poor and marginalized are not able to create the necessary systems within the homes for obvious economic reasons. However, even the economically and socially advanced are failing on this front because of the misinformation and superstitions around what is good for the pregnant women, infants, and young children. So that is one thing to think about. Can we evolve a consensus around scientifically sound and culturally appropriate mechanisms to ensure maternal and child health and nutrition? How do we go about this? Who should be involved in the deliberations? Should the focus be on individuals, families, or communities? And then how do we effectively get the right information out to the general public? This discussion is very important for India, which is a youthful country that will be adding millions to its population within this century. As far as the economic constraints of the poor are concerned, that too is something that we all must address as a society. Because after all, not having the medical healthcare system overwhelmed with patients of preventable diseases is in the interest of everyone. We already have a few government schemes for this, both through the central government and the state governments. Many social organizations have also run long-term projects focused on maternal and child health and nutrition. Most of these schemes and projects have been around for several decades. We generally know now what works and what does not work. The best practices from existing schemes and projects must be researched, documented, and replicated. But of course, better nutrition for pregnant women and children is not a substitute for the overall medical healthcare system. We do need a well-equipped and well-staffed network of affordable healthcare facilities spread across India. And all this is just about the physical health. Mental health is another big sector where even more work needs to be done. There are success stories in our own country which show that affordable healthcare for a large population is possible, and it need not always be free or charitable. A good case study in this case is the Arvinda Eye Hospital and its network of satellite establishments across Tamil Nadu and Puducherry. We need to replicate their hub and spoke model of making state-of-the-art healthcare accessible to everyone across this vast and populous country. This model also has the potential to impart skills and create local livelihoods for thousands of people. That is an added bonus. Information technology can also play a key role in providing more efficient healthcare. For example, if an individual's medical records are accessible to him or her or an authorized representative through a database from anywhere in the country, this can potentially speed up medical care during emergencies and save many lives. There have been some interesting experiments of training local traditional health practitioners to provide primary level health care in remote locations. These trained local professionals can be a very effective first line of defense that can catch and treat many ailments in the preliminary stage itself. These local operators can complement and support the ASHA workers in rural areas. Integrating the traditional health practitioners into the mainstream can have two additional benefits. Firstly, the many malpractices that happen in the name of traditional medicine will be curbed. Secondly, some of the good practices that are currently hidden in the traditional knowledge will come to light and can be scientifically validated and standardized. I'm sure there are many more ideas and successful experiments out there to improve healthcare across India. Do share your comments and suggestions in this context. Do also give your general comments on this series too. Thank you.